About what specifically?
Who's watching this?
We're going to have everybody right now. So we have anyone from the ages of 14 all the way up to 40, sometimes 50, but a lot of them are concentrated in around like the 25, 28 group. Really passionate about science, futurism, business, entrepreneurship, really passionate about those things. We're talking about our audience. We're talking about you guys at home right now. So that is the
Don't tell them.
That's kind of the concentration of the audience. So we'll definitely, match this out with your audience as well. We'll send it out. We'll all co-promote it, of course, all that good stuff.
Can they send in questions?
Yeah, they can. Via the YouTube live stream, they can send in questions.
Okay.
Yeah, and then, so we've been live already. We've been talking, but let's go ahead and start it off. All right, here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Simulation. I'm your host, Alan Sakian, and today we have the pleasure of sitting down with Shel Israel.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. I love the hat.
Well, thank you.
It looks good.
Well, thank you. There's a story with it. You want to hear?
Yeah, well, let's get to some of the story. I want to introduce you a little bit, and then we have a 7-time author on our hands. We have a 20-year contributor to Forbes, to Fast Company, Business Insider,
Business
Week. That is a lot of writing. That's so, holy cow, that's so much writing. And trying to communicate important concepts to people. And then also the CEO of Transformation Group. So that's about the last year and almost a half approach.
A little over a year.
Yeah.
And we began at South by Southwest in March last year.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so the focus of this recent endeavor of yours is to get people prepared for the augmented reality explosion. Yes, that's super exciting. I'm really excited to talk all about that.
Great.
Let's walk us through some of the path that led you to where you are today. I mean, 20 years of writing about all this stuff and all these books. How did you even get passionate about all this?
Well, that's a long story. Can we have an extra hour?
Let's do it.
I'm very old. Remember that.
Let's do the Cliff Notes version.
My professional career is divided almost equally between writing and consulting. As a writer, I loved everything about it except the vow of poverty that's attached to it. So when I get sufficiently pissed off at not making enough money, I then start consulting, which I really don't mind doing, except then I miss the writing. And invariably, I go back and forth. So right now, for the first time in my life, I'm very seriously trying to do both. And I'm starting to research my next book with a new partner. So that's the short version.
That is super duper short. Okay, so writing and consulting, back and forth, little dance. And there has been enough money, though, that you've earned from writing to where you didn't have to consult for periods of time, that kind of a thing. And then on the consultation side of things, you were consulting businesses about the future technologies and how to get them ready for them. And
mostly, Transformation Group is trying to help big brands and enterprise clients to adapt to I hate to use the word tsunami, but tsunami of change. Primarily right now, it's AR and VR. Increasingly, automated machines are coming in, robots and such. Machine learning is becoming an issue for us. So what we're consulting about is expanding based part on what people are asking us to do, based part on we see AR, VR part of a bigger picture.
Yeah, man, the explosion is huge. Tsunami. Yeah, I like that.
It's when you look. It's funny because here we are in the heart of where AR, VR, and a whole lot of other cool stuff is happening, and I hear all the time from people in the buildings around us how slow it's moving, how disappointed it is. But the truth of the matter is this is an adoption of a world-changing technology at a faster pace than anything that has ever come before it in the history of humankind.
Yes, correct.
And that's what's going on
exactly.
right now.
I always like to make that reference, especially to people that already have a tremendous amount of wealth, because then they get access to the newest AIs and the newest biotechnologies and the newest space colonizations and brain augmentations, and they get access to it much faster than cryptocurrencies. They get access to it much faster than the rest of the, and now because of that, because of all of those different technologies moving forward more quickly, it's changing our world so much. And I'm just very fascinated by people like you that have also analyzed the way they are going to be affecting the world, and then make those correct predictions, prepare businesses for them. So walk us through a little bit of that. So maybe like with the age of context, right? That was one of the getting businesses ready for mobile and sensors and data.
Yeah. Since 2010, I and people I work with have been just noticing a fundamental change. And fundamental change, like paradigm shift, are terms that are used all the time. But in computing, there have been only 3 fundamental changes to be completed so far. In the beginning, there were mainframes, and they were in the basement, and computer scientists and advanced degree engineers would use timeshare and come in at 2 in the morning, and they would talk to these machines by punching holes in pieces of paper. We later learned you could jigger an election in 2000 with the same putting holes in pieces of paper. But in this case, this was unheard of, that we could communicate with machines, ask them questions, and get answers. A few years passed, and we could go from the mainframe in the basement used by only really big-time scientific professionals to the knowledge worker in desks in big buildings for big corporations. And this changed everything. This changed information. This changed the way companies and customers talk to each other. It created a need to connect things through the Ethernet, to connect things eventually through the World Wide Web. Then all of a sudden, a couple of hippies in Silicon Valley named Jobs and Wozniak came up with something that was really cool, and we had the Mac, and that was the second transformation that brought computing from the workplace to the home. And that changed a lot. It meant kids, junior high school kids, were using computers for the first time. The important thing wasn't just the location, it was that we moved first from programming to typing on a keypad to a mouse that you could do things by pointing and clicking. The ability to see graphic design, even though it was in gray first. So that's the second transformation. Third transformation, probably everybody here remembers, it came in 2006 with the iPhone. It wasn't the first smartphone, but it was the smartphone that allowed us to take our computing wherever we went, to do things not by programming or typing or pointing and clicking, but by touching and swiping.
Yeah.
And this changed everything. It was faster, it was more mobile than anything else.
Yes.
A few years back, technology that started in the late 80s into the 90s to solve enormously big, complex, expensive problems for the Pentagon, for Boeing, for MIT, started creating headsets that talk to computers more efficiently than we could with phones, and put the computing in front of our faces, which is easier than here.
Yeah.
Right now, in a few years, I could be sitting here and getting notes from him telling me to talk up or stop coughing or something like that. But now what I would have to do is look down, and you would be talking and they would be seeing me ignoring you. Yeah. So now we can put things in front of our faces. It creates a new kind of entertainment, but it also is revolutionizing the underbelly of big enterprise work, logistics, warehouse fulfillment, order workers, people working on lines, anywhere they can now work hands-free.
Education. Surgeons
can work hands-free.
Yeah.
I'm still on the enterprise side.
Yeah, it's still on the enterprise side, yeah.
On the enterprise side, though, you do have training. A company called Striver began by helping quarterbacks practice without getting hit by linebackers.
Yeah.
At Stanford, and 2 years later, 140,000 Walmart employees are being trained with the same company software modified for Walmart employees. And among the things it's teaching them is something that you never thought of a computer teaching humans, but it's teaching them empathy. It's teaching the workers to feel sorry for the poor Walmart shoppers on the day after Christmas when there's pandemonium going on. And in the old days, the Walmart employees, there's videos of it, just left the scene because the customers were too much.
Someone might have a good day, someone might have a bad day, someone might have a medium day. How do you interact with all the different ones?
How do I? I'm one of the guys that leaves. That's your problem, dude. I'm out of here.
Just in general, there's a multitude of personalities that approach you in the retail and service industry. And then how does every single person that is in that position of employment interact and engage with that?
It changes everything because now the technology starts assisting us, starts not only informing us with data gathered, it's starting to make us smarter in real time.
Yeah.
Because now when we have the headsets on, we have a shorter distance to travel between where we're interfacing with the technology at the eye and the brain.
Yes.
Where the decisions are made.
And it's also not limited to the bandwidth of our meat sticks pressing on it. It's more
meat sticks.
Yeah, the meat sticks.
I like that. Can I use that in my next book?
I would love if you used meat sticks.
Do I have to attribute it to
No,
you?
Not at all.
Okay, good. Giving is the most important thing when you're a plagiarist.
Yeah, not at all.
Well, isn't it mine? Meat stick, meat puppet, isn't it a play on?
Meat stick initially came from Elon talking about the limited bandwidth of communication from the meat stick. But
well, that's why I can have it for free, and Elon knows I'm not worth suing, so we're all cool.
Yeah. And Ron says meat puppets a lot, and I say flesh vehicle a lot in reference to our body. Meat puppet, flesh vehicle. So that's the way that we communicate about that. So.
In my day, we used to say, "Meet me in outer space, dude."
Meet me in outer space, dude.
It was in a song that nobody here remembers, but
I think Ron might remember.
Meet me in outer space?
Meet me in outer space, and we'll blast off. Meet me at the rocket base, and we'll blast off to outer space.
Yeah.
Your separate parts are not unknown, but the way you resemble them is all your own.
Who did it? Maybe we'll close out with that song. Who
Tab
did?
Hunter.
Okay, thank you.
Tab Hunter.
I didn't want to say that because Tab went bad.
Oh, okay.
He found God in the Republican Party, so I don't talk about him very often.
All right, so back on track. I also want to include that you've been listing all these different transformations that have happened. You also helped in 2000, what year? The popularization of social media. That was about 2005 or so. So it was right around the time of these iPhones.
The first book was written with Robert Scoble, and it was at a time when people were getting fired for blogging, including at Google. Robert was one of the first corporate bloggers who didn't get fired. He was at Microsoft. But there was a book out, Nobody Cares What You Had for Lunch. It was looked upon as the purview of lonely teenagers, and Robert and I wrote a book that said, hey, you're getting it all wrong. This is an opportunity for companies to talk directly to customers. It's a scalable way of having conversations with the people you depend upon to make your money. And a few companies, Dell and Ford particularly, Comcast joined in, there are companies in Australia, Telstra, the phone company down there, they immediately embraced what we were saying, and they changed business directions, and they started, instead of firing people, hiring people to blog. And so that helped Robert and I separately build our careers and brought us together a couple more times to write other books. That was actually the start of the transformation that is now almost reaching fulfillment with AR and VR. It will go even further as other machines, John Markoff in the New York Times called them machines of loving grace in a great book. And these are machines that feel, empathize, look at you, know your patterns, know your preferences, know where your eyes are going, understand when you get bored, understand when you get excited, understand when you are fond of the person in front of you or you're just faking it with facial recognition that shows you're not really smiling. And that's AI, and that's probably something so big and so incomprehensible at this point that we get a fulfillment that probably carries out through the entire century that we're now just beginning. The pinpoint of it right now is AR, VR, because we cannot get to there until we're upright, looking right, until we can move in all directions, looking around, until we have no wires and tethers.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to happen very quickly in the next 5 years, let's say.
Yeah, exactly.
I think 2021, but I keep getting called a futurist, and no, I just take guesses. I talk to a whole lot of people.
Definitely.
And, you know, perhaps magically will surprise me and make the age happen in a couple of months. I doubt it, but that could happen that way.
Yeah. So
I do babble on, so you're allowed to interrupt me.
No, not at all. This is great. So I'm really fascinated by these transformations that occurred throughout time in order to get us here, and I really enjoy the personal computer entering every single home being profound, and then also the iPhone entering now. I think only just a couple billion people don't have the devices, which is insanely great, and hopefully in like 5 or 7 years, the same thing will be true with augmented reality. There will only be a couple billion people that don't have it. And then how will that affect our world when you are upright, looking in every single direction and having these augmentations to your primary sense of vision? There's so many. You were listing all the enterprise ones, then we have all of the educational ones for young people or even job retraining. There's so many there. I get to see your social security number, all that good hacking. So there's a couple things like who's actually working with the privacy of the data, who's working with ensuring that we are safe and secure.
I could write 2 books answering the question you asked. I already wrote one of them. But the fourth transformation subtitle says, "Will change everything." And for those who know Robert Scoble, he's very absolutist in his views. And I had written the subtitle, "Will change almost everything." He says, "No, it's everything, it's everything." I said, well, it won't change this, it won't change. And I really couldn't come up with something that it wouldn't eventually change.
Yeah.
And the tiebreaker was our editor who said, "Screw it, it's the headline." So nobody has yet, in the 1 year since the book's been out, said, wait a minute, it won't change this.
Yes, yes.
You know, somebody said it won't change love, and yeah, it will change.
It will change love, yeah.
It will absolutely change love,
yeah. What would it not change? Nothing. It will change everything. It will. Yeah.
It will change climate control. I cannot think of thinking what it won't change. Yeah. What is important is a moment in time that will not be noted, because I do not know the moment in time when the center of our digital life moved from the desktop to the thing in our hands.
Yeah.
And I don't know the moment when it'll move from our hands to our glasses.
Yeah.
And I do not know when those glasses will go from VR and contained so that you can't walk down Market Street without being a candidate for the Darwin Award because you can't see anything but the other world.
Yeah.
You're in the oasis, for better or worse. AR, right now, the greatest value of it isn't its full potential, which I'll look at you and there'll be a little tag over here in the corner saying your name, what you do, why I'm talking to you, and a reminder not to say anything stupid because those people are watching. At some point, this becomes everything, and I can sit here and go into VR and start watching Bernadette and rockets from outer space, or I can come back here and that disappears, and I'm here. He's telling me to stop moving around so much. It will do everything. And our heads will be up and our hands will be free. And it will solve problems that we haven't thought of yet. No one ever realized that when we got these phones, it would be an end to boredom as we know it. Standing in supermarket lines, we're not reading the headlines on National Enquirer, and it's not even there anymore. We're sitting here and maybe we're playing games, or we're looking like we're talking to somebody in text. Now our heads are going to be up, and we're going to be seeing all these things, and we're going to be choosing what knowledge we have. We're going to be sitting here and actually swimming the Great Barrier Reef. We're going to be undergoing surgery and swimming the Great Barrier Reef, while the surgeon has practiced cutting my chest open and repairing my heart all week last week, doing the operation in VR before he actually does it on me.
Laying in his bed at home. Doing the operation.
And now he's there and he's really doing it, but he's not really doing it because an AI-powered scalpel will be helping him not make a mistake, and if he gets the hiccups, the scalpel will take over the controls. Everything is going to change with the technology that's coming in. I don't know where to take that. What was the second half of what you asked?
Well, you're just listing all of the amazing ways that it's already impacting our world.
You know, I wrote a book that was written in 2000. It came out in 2007. It was written in early 2017. And about 30% of the things that we said would happen have happened, and 30% of the things that were happening have changed dramatically. Striver. We wrote about quarterbacks not having to get sacked by their own linebackers in practice, and the same technology is training Walmart workers, and next year everybody's going to say, well, yes it is, and it's going to be training Target workers and IKEA workers and so on. You just, every time I'm around here, I hear it's not happening fast enough. You know, there were those who expected this was going to be the AR Christmas, that everybody after this was going to be using cool AR, VR stuff all the time. And it didn't happen that way, and there's a great disappointment here, but in the last 4 months, 13 million people have downloaded apps off of ARKit. And I don't know the number for Google. It's harder to pull out of Google, I guess. But let's say 25 million people are using AR on their phones in the first 4 months of its existence. And people say it's not happening fast enough. Well, wake up, folks. People take time to have other lives besides this. But by this time next year, people will expect their apps to be AR, VR capable. And they'll probably have a setting that says put it on 2D when they don't want that 3D effect, probably because their battery's getting low, because the AR is moving so much faster than the battery is. You know.
Ron, can we get a which PTZ should I point this at? I want to show
right across from you.
Right across from me. Okay. So let's open up our camera app. Whoop. All right, so we got our camera app up. We're just going to go to
Pixel 2, great replacement for the iPhone 8 and 10, by the way. Personal.
So here we're going to go to the top hamburger bar, and then we're going to go to the AR stickers button. Ron, can you see it?
Yeah.
Cool. So when you go to the AR stickers, and then here's a stormtrooper.
Yes.
Click and drag it, bring it on, drop him, and Ron, can you see that? All right, cool. So, there he is,
cool?
Right there on the surface of the table. And so, as you move around, so does the stormtrooper. And so this is just a little bit of insight into, you got it on your phone right now, under the AR stickers on your Android phone. So
since you marveled at that, I went around the corner from here and visited Prezi. And they showed me how I can do that stuff in my next presentation, which means I was once a PR guy. I launched PowerPoint. I've asked the world to forgive me. They have not. But now, instead of slides behind us when we speak, we're going to have little AR characters running all over the stage while we speak. We're going to be immersed with our presentation.
Yeah.
And probably they've only had, less than 1 million people adapt that so far. YouTube has some really cool stuff done at the last TED on that part.
As in everybody wearing AR and watching the presentation.
They just see it on the screen behind them. And instead of looking at him on the stage, they look up there and they see a helicopter.
All the augmentations happening.
Yeah.
But that means they have to
exactly
be looking at
what you showed me.
Yeah. But they have to be looking at the screen instead of at the person.
Today.
Today. Yeah.
Yeah. But where is it going to go? Correct, and how fast is it going to get there? Now, I don't know how fast it's going to get there because things like battery power, 5G, they're all this infrastructure crap. We're not interested in 5G and how big the tower is and what the range is and how it bounces off a brick. We just want the action. We just want it in our glasses. We just want a battery that doesn't heat up when we have a headset on.
Correct.
And when that happens, when it gets easy enough, when it gets long enough without deteriorating the battery, when all that comes together, blip, 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 there are no headlines. Nobody gets excited. We don't have a conference, unless you're a professional, about 5G tower installations and the complexities thereof, or about drone safety hazards. All this stuff gets click, click, it's gone. No longer a problem. You forget there ever was a problem. Does anybody remember the last time they used, I can't say it was, I always say whiteout, but nobody knows what whiteout is. In the old days of manual typewriters.
Oh my God, whiteout. We know what whiteout is,
and
right?
Carbon paper.
Carbon paper.
Forgive me for this too, but one of my PR agencies,
the carbon paper and
to make copies.
It's on the second copy. Yeah, when you write, you get the yellow slip at the.
I'm now 5 years past non-disclosure, but one of my PR agencies was acquired by Ketchum PR, and they came to me and they said, "We want to buy you because we're brain dead on this consumer technology." This is the 90s, and is what we called it. Why don't you come in? We'll give you a lot of money. We'll make you the EVP of Ketchum Worldwide for Consumer Technology. And I got there, and I sat down at my desk, and I found I was working on a DEC Rainbow Max simulation terminal. And I got my orientation of Ketchum, whose claim to fame is they did PR for carbon paper in 1900-something, and that's how they got started in the PR business, and they were, at that time, the 6th largest PR agency in the world. And I was in awe that this company's culture started with carbon paper, and it just hired somebody to handle Silicon Valley stuff and would not give me a Mac, but only gave me a Mac emulator because DEC was a client, until it died later that year. So, the technology moves very quickly. Cultures that succeeded previously get embedded with systems in place, with devices in place, with whiteout, with carbon paper, with baud modems. And one day it's gone. And kids come along, and the people who are 50 say, these kids, and they don't understand how Minecraft changes the world.
Yeah.
Minecraft lets preschoolers learn to program, think in 3D. When they come up with something really cool, they don't call up an intellectual property lawyer. They post it on YouTube to share for free. This changes global economics. This changes global cultures. This lessens the importance of political powers, because now people are talking to each other, and they don't have to talk in the languages of English and Chinese. They can share in code. They can soon share in 3D because they can see each other in 3D. We can now see a street vendor, not now, but very soon, or not so far into the distance, we can see a street vendor selling artisan goods on the streets of Beijing and push a button and have them delivered maybe by a drone to our homes in Marin County, California. And that's not far away. There's no moment when it happens, though. It's dit. Then Apple, or Magically, or Google, or somebody comes up with a device that has all that stuff in it. And what we don't think about is the AI and I'm not going to do tech babble. I get tired of tech babble. We're not interested in the AI. We're not interested in the refresh rate. We're not interested in anything other than, wow, this is cool. Wow, oh, geez, I didn't know he was arrested for that. And I guess I'll go socialize with Ron over there. Our lives change. The world changes. Politics change. Currency changes. You mentioned cyber currency, one that I'm not up to speed on. But do you realize that the purpose of blockchain, or whatever replaces it if it gets replaced, is the demolition of government as we know it? Because government's power,
centralization in general, yeah.
It democratizes money. Wow. It eliminates the ability for governments to tax. It eliminates trade wars, which I think China would like right now, but instead we're going to have one with them, apparently. This is all happening in little blips all over the place, and it makes so much noise in our heads. And then we want to go to a place like Oasis in Ready Player One, where we can just get away from all that crap. And that's the other reason why there's a revolution going on. The way we entertain ourselves, the way we escape from things, comes into the headsets. This time we're talking more about VR. In China, they have an experiment going on with virtual teachers. As good as they have been at population control practices, they still produce kids much faster than they can educate teachers. So they're experimenting now with giving children in a classroom headsets, and letting the classroom be a little bit bigger. And it still has to be a classroom so that they can learn to socialize and work in groups and all of that sort of stuff. But now the kids can pick a teacher. I might picture a young and nubile babe. Your preference might be for an old wise man. I don't know. And you can then choose an avatar who has a personality. The old wise man can be a kindly, encouraging man.
Or even the machine learns about what you prefer.
I'm coming to that because as you study, the machine knows what you're looking at all times. If you're a smart kid, they teach you faster. If you're a slow kid, they teach you with greater patience. If you lose interest, they give you a pop quiz. If you're getting bored and you haven't gone away yet, they may just pause and tell you a joke and give you a 5-minute recess and then put you back in.
But when I don't want it, I just take it off. And that's the difference between the glasses and the neuroprosthetic. Neuroprosthetic, the ability to turn it off, might not be in your full control.
I think neuroprosthetics are going to be a purview in areas like prison reform, where homicidal maniacs are going to get reprogrammed. I don't see anything happening in the next near-term future where it becomes an everyday application. I can't see anybody going to work with and attaching to a neuroprosthetic unless they're a volunteer for an experiment or something.
And we were chatting about personalizing education and personalizing learning. That is super important as well with the proliferation of AI and robotics. Now we can also retrain people using augmented reality, so that way all of the jobs that are being lost around the world to things like autonomous vehicles, accountants, in many ways, law, even doctors, all these augmentations that are occurring, service industry, retail industry, augmented reality will help them potentially become a worker in the field of robotics and AI. So could the AR actually retrain a service industry worker that became robotic, that the robot took over that work? Could that service industry worker learn through AR how to better design or program some ethics on that bot, or design the system of interaction between the human and the computer, the HCI, human-computer interaction? So that's so interesting, being able to retrain through it as well, teach kids, kids running through augmented reality as well.
It's about as controversial an issue as there is, and again, I know studio audiences like brief answers, but there are examples of autistic kids being trained to look both ways before crossing the street. So for the first time in history, some autistic kids can cross streets. Of course, this is just right now being experimented on, so if you have an autistic kid, don't give them a headset and send them out onto the street. Where the problems come in, to me, with retraining is the person needing retraining may be of a certain age, headspace, and culture that they cannot suddenly go from being a storm window builder in Erie, Pennsylvania, to being a AI programmer in Silicon Valley.
Definitely.
The changing historically has come much more massively for the next generation. And very often, as South of Market area illustrates, younger generations create jobs in fields that older generations didn't think of, so they're not going to be able to retrain you. Retraining also involves culture. People who are a certain way are unlikely to change. It is very unlikely that a Trump supporter will become an Obama-type candidate supporter in the next election. Because they've gone through life with certain values, certain ethics, and retraining ethics without Clockwork Orange type torturous effects may not be financially feasible or realistic or have a high success rate for a very long period of time. I see much more the new technologies creating new job opportunities for new generations. I think you disagree with that, so you can push back if you want.
No, it is creating new opportunities for the next generations. I think I'm really curious about, is it going to create more jobs than it's going to replace?
I mentioned John Markoff before. In Machines of Loving Grace, which is the best AI for business book that I've seen so far, he pointed out that until 2000, I could have the year wrong, 13 or 14, every wave of technology has created more jobs and better jobs than it's replaced. And he brought that all the way back to when tall ships replaced rowing teams and Viking boats.
Yep.
And the side effects also created more problems. More people died when ships went out to the big sea than died while rowing up canals. So with AI and what is happening now, there may not be this continuing creation of new jobs at the expenses of old jobs. Bring this into the reality of lights out factories. Lights out factories, for people who don't know, have gotten rid of the humans in there, so you don't need to spend any money on electricity, you don't need coffee breaks or a whole lot of things. You can just have these machines working in absolute darkness, and once a week the human comes by and does whatever monitoring and inspection is needed.
Yep.
Saves a lot of money, but it doesn't have jobs that get replaced at any point, and it takes fewer workers to create the technology for lights out factory than get laid off for it. Right now, the layoffs have created jobs in other parts of the world, and the workers in other parts of the world have evolved from, say, an agrarian culture to an industrial culture. Until now, the U.S. has always gone for the most technical culture, has been a global leader by going for the most technical culture, of recruiting people from all over the world to come to the United States to work. Well, now, for the first year in history, in 2017, more Chinese citizens left the United States for jobs in China than came to the United States for jobs in America. This is a trend I think we've hit a turning point, but I see this trend is continuing for a long period of time.
I think we should talk about this. So with the proliferation of augmented reality, AI, all this new biotechs, space colonizations, all these technologies, and if you hit up the cough drop, good, okay, good.
I was trying to be subtle.
Yeah, good, I'm glad you got it in. Yeah, dump the package, the paper.
You're telling them all
You know, he wanted to be subtle, he wanted to be discreet, and you got to talk about it. Don't you know nothing about being a TV host?
Ron, wait a minute. Come on over. You take over.
It's all right.
I agree. Ron's
all
just
right.
No, it's good. It's fun to be able to point stuff out, but it's also fun to be discreet. Okay.
Watch how I pour the water on my host.
Yeah, exactly. So what do you think about globalization? Where do you think we're going with AI and China, and how do we work together?
That gets even more political than I've dabbled in so far. I think that the United States has reversed a course that we have. The course that made us the world leader begins at the end of World War II. It begins actually with one of the most horrible things that ever happened, the atomic bomb. And since that time, we have been the global leader in every way, shape, and form, relating to technology and its impact on jobs, on industry and education, on quality of life. For whatever improvements to environment they've been, obviously they haven't been enough, to automobiles, to flying, it just goes on and on. The U.S. is there for almost every innovation in those areas until now. Now we have a political head of state who ran on the slogan of "Make America Great Again," and it seems that by that he is going back to a time where we're trying things that have failed in the past. Tariffs, for example. Returning industrial work here, the lunacy of things like putting a tariff on foreign aluminum, which helps 5 American aluminum-making companies and damages 145 or something like that, companies that buy aluminum at a quarter of the price when it's Chinese. So we are now heading in a period where our leadership is likely to be damaged for a very long time. Our historic partners don't know if they can trust us anymore. If we get a different administration, they don't know if it'll just keep flipping and flopping, and the last thing they want is an unstable and unpredictable partner. So I think there's a huge opportunity for other countries. There are 2 that are making big plays. One is China, which I think is doing it quite wisely and is to be worried about. And the other is Russia, which is trying, as far as I can see, to reestablish the Soviet Union and is doing a frighteningly good job of it. So I think the balance of power in the world is going to change. I think, though, that what has happened in America is hitting a nerve all over the world, as we saw with Brexit. Germany's problems in finding a leadership. I mean, most of the world looked at Merkel as this fixture for the next 30 years, and she managed to hold on to power, but she barely grasped onto it, at least the way it appeared to me. The EU itself is really in a more powerful position as ours is reduced.
But so how will we work together?
I'm more of an observer than a corrector.
Okay.
I don't know how to do that. I was raised when I thought the United Nations was going to create a global government that everybody listened to, and that was actually pretty close to the consensus in the 50s as I grew up. It was the whole world over here, and then over there were the Russians and their satellites. And that was the world, and it was very simple, and it was going to be like that until one side won, and then we'd all be happy.
We need the United Federation of Planets.
The UFP. The United Federation
I'm forgetting,
of Planets.
was that Asimov or was that Arthur Clarke?
Gene Roddenberry. Star Trek.
Oh, Star Trek.
United Federation of Planets.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I was on a different enterprise.
This is a very fascinating conversation, Shel. It's you're a wonderful human being. Thanks for being you.
Yeah, we
Thank you.
really appreciate it. Yeah.
Is that our sign-off? Did we just
No,
finish?
I know. I'm just saying. This is quite
Can the
intriguing.
camera follow me if I get up and give you a buddy hug?
We'll do it at the end. Maybe we'll come in.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, okay, how about we
It sounded like a sign-off, and I said, I must have done something wrong.
No, not
no,
at
no,
all,
no.
not at all.
Okay.
Let's wander into a little bit about these technologies. Okay, you say you're an observer more so.
It's
Than a
I get asked,
collector.
let me interrupt you for a minute. I get asked a lot whether I think this is good or bad. And I look at a lot of facts, hopefully in balance, and I tend to err on the side of this is good. And I tend to err that this is going to happen sooner because I forget about all those little glitches like battery. But whether it is good or bad, it is going to happen. It is inevitable. What do I think the United States can do? I think regime change is a really good idea, but I don't know if we will do it. And I'm not in the business of advocating that we should do it. I'm in the business of observing how politics, culture, and that are going to change the human condition overall and business specifically. I write and I consult for business audiences. And what Minecrafters mean is the way you treat customers today is going to change when this generation gets to college age, which is now 4 or 5 years away. When we started talking about the Minecrafters, it was 10 years away. The remedy for this is to have an enlightened human being. The remedy for this, there is no place better than the science fiction thinkers like Gene Roddenberry, Isaac Asimov, Arthur C. Clarke. I love these guys. Ernie Klein, who did Ready Player One. These are my heroes. These are the guys who inspired me. These are the guys who got me to Silicon Valley. But they wrote fiction. They wrote fiction because they were just making stuff up. And I'm a journalist and I'm not supposed to make stuff up, although I've been tempted from time to time.
Yeah, so
Did I tell you about when I won the Pulitzer Prize? No, just making that up.
Well, a lot of what you've done is you've helped people understand what current technologies are doing and how they're affecting culture, how they're affecting business, and what is likely going to be happening in the next couple of years, and that is a really important position to help people in. So, okay, I'll follow up on.
Thank you. That's who I want to be. My resume is all over the board, but that's what I'm trying to do.
Good. I think it's a really important position to have. There's not enough people like that, so I'm really happy that you're in that, and Scoble's in that, and there's a couple other people that we're aiming to have that are like that.
I would include my new partner, Irina Cronin.
I'm excited to hopefully meet her and host her. I would really love that.
I'll set it up. I am her PR agency.
Oh, that's great.
I get 12%. She comes up here regularly, and the next time she comes up, I think she'd be great.
Is she in Los Angeles?
She's in LA.
Okay, great. So that's a crucial role, and it's especially for young people, for kids to be, as they progress into the world, to be able to hear about what all these technologies are doing, how they're affecting society, how the kids can become more actualized by leveraging the technologies. They're kind of democratizing or even decentralizing education in many ways. And then you have other countries like Latin America and South America and Africa and Asia and a lot of places in the world that previously weren't able to basically leapfrog technologies. Now they can observe molecules in 3D in front of their face thanks to this. They can observe a robot in action in an augmented space or even in the physical reality in front of them and learn about that rather than needing to, again, just leapfrogging all of this. So that is so profound and so important. So what do you think about how we have so much wealth that's being concentrated in just a couple people and so little wealth with so many others, even though that the Pinker argument that overall everyone's getting better over time is very true? Crunch.
You're not supposed to embarrass your guest.
Hey, there's no embarrassment. We're just chatting. All right, so overall everyone's going up over time, but what do we do about that gap? And as all these advancements in technology kind of amplify wealth inequality, what do you think we should do about that?
I don't think what I think we should do about that will happen. I'm a child of the 60s, and I want us all to join hands and sing Kumbaya. I want us to tolerate all people. I want us to, you and I probably know that we agree on 92. We probably won't get to conflict until I say the Giants suck.
Still not in conflict. Actually, saying
as long as you don't badmouth the Warriors.
Every sports team is sports. That's what they are. And if you say good or bad at the end of that, then you're already being polarizing. It's crazy how that works.
But that polarization used to be fun, and now it gets serious. Now at the end of big games, fans get kill each other. We have entered a time when the natural societal inertias have stopped happening. History is a case of going this way and that way. America's experiment has shown that we will always go too far in one direction and then back to the middle. And now we seem to be going too far in one direction, a direction I liked under Obama, that had inflamed millions of people that Obama supporters weren't noticing. So now we're going too far, even further in the other direction. And these kind of violent shifts from one side to the other are going on all over the world. The return of an empire mentality in Russia, the installation of somebody who can rule for life for the first time since Mao in China, the dangers of North Korea actually trying to prove that they really, really do have a button that they can pop and the size doesn't matter that much because they can still hit Seoul in 22 seconds or something like that. We're in a very dangerous time. And during dangerous times in history, we end up having citizen revolutions. The French Revolution, the American Revolution, the colonies of Africa. We are heading into a time when so few have so much and so many have so little, and anger is mounting, and the channels of communication are dwelling upon the negative and the dangers, and things like Fox are called real news, that if we do not find a way to head back toward a common ground, a place where we realize that I and a Ku Klux Klan guy in Mississippi do have things in common, ideas we can share, ways that we can deal with each other with certain civility.
You both need to breathe air to survive. You need to eat food and drink water to survive. There's commonalities.
There are great commonalities.
More than that, though, Alan. It's not that cut and dry. There are some people that lean either way on whether it's right or left. That
there are those that believe we don't have anything to do with the climate. And so then it isn't breathe the same air because they're willing to let us breathe air. That if they're rich, they don't have to breathe. They'll be in climate-controlled buildings.
There's also part of me
let's
that
get away
doesn't
from
like the word they in general.
Let us get away from...
That is polarizing in general versus saying us.
We are polarized. Just on a personal level, most people assume I'm liberal. I'm not. I have, for over 30 years, not been a member of either party. Except in California, I have to declare when I go vote in a primary, and then I have to redeclare myself as an independent right afterwards. I voted for many Republicans until about 15 years ago when the Republican Party started getting headed by a bunch of nutcases. And that's not a political view, because I believe the Republican view, the business can usually solve problems better, motivated by capital gain, is wiser than the very liberal view that government regulation can fix massive human problems.
Yeah.
I believe in the middle of these two wisdoms, there should be a friction that goes forward, improves education, improves well-being, improves the state of old people, improves, let's go on and on and on.
Yeah.
We can talk about these roads. We can talk about people that used to be safely taken care of in institutions are now sitting on street corners of Market Street injecting drugs into their bare feet.
Yeah.
And it's a common sight. In San Francisco, one of the most forward-thinking and civil cities in the world. It's not. You didn't say, wow, did you see that? Yeah, I saw it right this morning before 10 a.m. when I arrived here. It dawned on me that the surprise was I wasn't surprised.
Yeah.
We're in a very dangerous time. We have solved problems for 50 years that tech solved. Some of the smartest people in the world believe there are dangers that tech is solving. Well, one of them left the world recently, Stephen Hawking. Elon Musk is another one. That the things that I'm a proponent of, they're saying if you take it far enough, we'll eliminate humanity. I'm hopeful that humanity exists long enough to take it that far. We are in the most dangerous times I've seen in my 7 decades of life. We are going in a direction of more dangerous, more polarized times. And you asked me what we should do about it. I don't know, but we better figure it out fast. I thought my generation, we were the 60s kids. We were going to give you world peace and a clean planet. And we kind of botched those two, but we did give you the personal computer, we did give you the internet, we did give you the smartphone. You guys take it from here, will you? But hurry up.
Yeah,
hurry up.
Yeah, because the health bar on the planet is definitely having some issues bring it down.
I don't think there's a political solution in the world to our problems. I think it's up to people. But for people to succeed, they have to change the political mixture of things. I don't see how to do that. I look to your generation to have better ideas. I look to a generation that doesn't know or doesn't care what I've seen in the course of my life so that they can go in new directions. The way my generation didn't really appreciate what our parents did when they went through World War II and the Great Depression before that.
And a lot of people in our generation do care about what was passed to them, and a lot of people in our generation do care about solving the existential risks that we face.
I think your generation is very attuned to that and is very passionate about it.
And there are other ones that are not, and that's also there are some people that argue that is totally fine for people to give no fucks about improving the world, and I think I don't think that's okay. And I strive to inspire people to care to improve the world, and that's what we.
See, I see it a little differently. I think through history, there have been people who have tried to improve the world, and they've done great things through history. Some of them religious leaders of earlier times. Perhaps one of those right now is the Pope, and I'm certainly not a Catholic. But we have a Pope who is showing that his church does have a caring for the poor, for ignorance, does have a passion for peace, no matter what religions are fighting the wars. There are people like that now. The problem is there were other people throughout history who are most interested in amassing personal wealth.
Yeah, correct. And that's a whole
they're
problem with power, greed, corruption, ego. Swami Ananda kept saying it on our show, but it's all about inner management. If you can learn about your inner meditation and spirituality, it'll do things like give you the wake-up call of like, oh, that's actually not as important as helping make the world a better place than accumulating enough wealth to purchase a third boat. I had a question about. I wanted to ask you, I'll walk you down a couple more of these simulation questions and then we'll call it a show. What do you think is the most beautiful thing in the world?
Can you put it in a box like made by humans, or?
Oh, anything.
Then I'll get poetic and say a baby's first smile. I'll ignore the fact that's probably caused by gas. But have you ever seen a newborn baby smile?
Yeah.
It always has the same look of, I'm here. Yeah. Where do I eat? Oh, there. Yeah. I say a baby smile.
Okay. Good. Okay, now, Shel, do you think we're alone in the cosmos?
We keep bouncing into sci-fi. Arthur Clarke is very well known for the 2001 Etc. series. It was is it Rama? He did a 4-book series on Rama, and he also did Childhood's End, which had the same concept of everything. The universe is created by a higher power, but that higher power may have been accumulating the wisdom of all living things, from blades of grass to humans to other sentient creatures on other planets in other galaxies. And so the only way I can get close to religion is to take it out to the level of how did the universe get here, and where is here if here is not the universe? And what happens to intelligence when we all die? And intelligence and soul, or whatever you want to call it, is something that may go somewhere when we cease to exist. So that probably moves me from being an adamant atheist, which I am when we talk about organized Western religions that I'm familiar with, to a hopeful agnostic at best. But yes, I believe there has to be not only life elsewhere, but intelligent life elsewhere. What I think is what makes us unique, which is something else Arthur Clarke dealt with. We seem to be the only human creature in the world that just likes to kill things for reasons other than pure survival.
Yeah. Then There are probably other evolutionary examples of animals killing other animals just for sport.
No, sir. I can't believe it.
I was raised that the wolf.
There is probably.
I was told the Wolverine was that, but then I found out that's not true.
They have to train a certain way, but that's very interesting. It might not be true, so we'll have to investigate and figure that out. Do you think
Sharks do it for food? I cannot think of any creature I know of who routinely kills for food.
Me neither, other than human beings.
Or routinely eliminates races to own property. You know,
Stuff like that is very messed up.
Heinlein is...
killing people for land, killing people based on religion and...
Stranger in a Strange Land, if we're going to go down to sci-fi, Heinlein had Martians who had no concept of owning property. It just wasn't part of it. They had no word for war, which is ironic because we humans had named their planet for the god of war. But in Stranger in a Strange Land, he owned Mars, the stranger did. We didn't know what to do with it. And our government wanted to kill him because they wanted to colonize Mars. I don't know of any other human that is like that, and we have always been like that. So when we think of solving the problems of the world, and we don't say that we can reprogram humans or retrain humans, then we must accept that we are a race that likes to kill. And we must really think deeply about what we wish to do about that.
If the general principles of humanity being that we are this only species that likes to kill for fun, who do you think is going to be programming ethics into AI?
Humans own AI. Right now, AI is ours. The fear is that we will be AIs at some point in the future. I personally have doubts, but I'm not as smart as Hawking and Musk, who are pretty serious thinkers. And I don't know, sorry about that, Ron.
Sorry.
I don't know what the resolution is. I don't know if our tendency will lead to the destruction of this planet. If there is a destruction to this planet, I don't know how that will impact the rest of the universe. Is there, Luke, a disturbance in the vortex? I don't know.
You think artificial general intelligence poses a threat, though, right?
I think every step of progress has always posed a threat.
Like nuclear war as well,
Tech creates problems that tech fixes, but where does it culminate? That's a continuum. And always, there is no always. It always has, it's true, but it always will. Nothing has. Yeah. We don't even know that the universe always has been or always will be.
Okay.
And if it isn't, what is there? That goes beyond my IQ's ability to calculate with or without big data assistance.
Do you think that we're in a computer simulation?
When I was in college and I took creative writing, I described us as being in a molecule of water, in a glass of water, being about to be consumed by a much larger being. Mm-hmm. And that's the best thinking I ever did on the subject, on the question you just answered.
I like that.
And if we are a simulation or merely a molecule in another dimension, or something at the end of a wormhole where the really good stuff is on the other end, I think it's irrelevant to me and everything that I know of right now. And it gives me some comfort to think that there is a higher relevance, but the thought of a universe that did not contain humans breaks my heart.
Yeah.
And like other humans, I kind of like us being a dominant species. I just wish we didn't have to kill so much.
Yeah, so that we could at least take firm, benevolent control of this rock and move forward to the next rocks and help eradicate suffering, do all the good things on this planet. So this has been a pleasure. This has been a huge pleasure. I can't wait for the next 3-5 years. We're going to be, augmented reality is going to be right here, and it's going to be impacting all of us, a lot of us around the world. And even just 3 or 5 years, hopefully there'll be 1 billion people wearing AR by then, and past that, we'll see exactly how it ends up. I have this video that I want to see if I can try and find. Did you ever see that video of I think the guy in South America that's wearing AR that's walking through the streets?
Yeah, I did.
You saw that video? Yeah, that's a really good one. I like that a lot. Let's see, augmented reality.
We had a guy who used to walk around Silicon Valley, I forgot his name, with a camcorder on his head, live streaming. He had a company for it. So he walked around and wherever he was, and at one point he had over 1 million viewers till...
Found the video.
Oh, good. But just to finish the
Yeah, go ahead.
Most of us eventually wandered away because it got really, really boring watching this guy walk around all over. Once you saw him go to the bathroom once, the interest of how he was going to do that went away. So,
Ron, do you want to play the video that I have on NDI scan converter or no? Or otherwise I can just go pull it up over there.
I have it here on reality. Okay, great. Okay, there it is.
Ron, do you know you spelled my name wrong?
Go ahead, play it.
Okay, great.
Hyper reality.
Just kidding.
So right now we're watching this video.
Sorry.
Okay. So look here. Oh, yeah. This was on Facebook a couple of days ago.
Yeah, here's incoming call.
Oh, it's getting your mic from on your laptop. I better
Look
fix
at
that.
that dystopian crap.
This is still capturing. Sorry.
The speaker's behind you.
Yeah, we gotta fix. No, it's picking up your mic on your on the laptop. We gotta look into.
So here you can see there was an incoming call. There was a message. Here's your Google asking a question. Then there's your friend group up there, your achievements, your level, and your points manager. And so just like really quick going through this, like loyalty points will be erased. Okay, here you're walking. You rate the bus driver on the way out. Look at this. Look at this world right here. Here's clear the area because the light's changing, so you need to get out of the street. And then it's all ads. It's so crazy. And you get in the grocery store.
Yeah.
And there's your little pet thing.
This is the old one.
This is really fascinating right here. So there's some like hiccups that go on right here. What's happening? Are my points safe, right? And so that's the question, because he's getting like this, this issue with reality is being kind of hacked by somebody. And so look, this is what it looks like when it's off. And then here's the reset. And then he goes from level 99, going to level 0, and he's really worried because you've accumulated all these life points. And so the hacker ends up successfully, right here. This is where he gets a blood sample. Look at this, watch. And boom, just like that, injury detected. If your blood gets stolen like that, then they can, they're hacking into him, reset your identity, erase your profile, biometrics, accepted, all that stuff's reset, and just like that, boom. Now you have to start a new career, a new life. Here it found the religion. But that's just in essence, we just went through that 6-minute video really quickly, but I wanted to at least, end with people understanding that that's kind of the both in many cases a positive example of how you can have all these augmentations going on in the world, and a very negative example. And so it's really important that when we design the technology that we bring into the world, that we do it with an essence of some sort of ethics, with some sort of an understanding that it could potentially be harmful or even an existential threat, and to try and democratize it to as many people as possible, get them educated, get them excited about it. I'm really grateful that you came on the show, that your work over the last 20 years has been about trying to get people to get more understanding of the technologies that are up and coming and apply those to their lives. So Shel, such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
I had a ball. This was great. Can I come back tomorrow and do it again?
Yeah, come back tomorrow. I love it. I'm glad you had a good time. Let's get Irina on the show. Let's get Irina on the show. And thank you everyone for tuning in. If you had a good time, like, comment, subscribe. Make sure to let us know what you thought was interesting, what you thought we could improve on, what you think about augmented reality and AI in the future of work. Also, if you think the content's useful, share it with other people. We'd love for you to do that. Big thank you to our partner producer, Ron Vargas, for just crushing it all the time. Thanks to our leading patrons. Find us on Patreon. Help us out. Help us sustain the studio space. We greatly appreciate that. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you in a little bit with David Hua on the future of cannabis later today. Thank you.
Future of cannabis?